Imagine getting in your car, typing or speaking a location, and letting it drive you to your location while you sleep, read a book, or do any number of things that make your hands unavailable. Autonomous or self-driving vehicles have been a part of science fiction ever since the first roads were paved and will radically change how we get from point A to point B. Let's talk about it in today's episode of Physics of the Future. First, let's take a look at some examples of self-driving cars in science fiction. You had to know this one was coming. KITT, short for Knight Industries 2000, was a fully sentient AI that controlled the 1982 Pontiac Trans Am. KITT was capable of driving himself, but everyone felt more comfortable with Michael at least being in the car. KITT didn't really need a driver, but out of paranoia, he had one anyways. Isaac Asimov wrote a considerable amount of non-fiction in which he predicted the coming of autonomous vehicles, but he also wrote an amazing short story on the subject called Sally. In the story, the only cars allowed on the road were self-driving. Several cars briefly turned against human beings by surrounding a bus. Sally, the titular car, wasn't viewed with scorn by the human characters, but the reader is given a general sense of unease about this development in human history. That's enough science fiction. Let's take a look at some science fact. Autonomous vehicles use various technologies developed by Google, Uber, Tesla, Nissan, and other major automakers, researchers, and technology companies. While design details may vary, most self-driving systems create and maintain an internal map of their surroundings using a wide variety of sensors including radar, LiDAR, cameras, and other specialized equipment. The concept of levels of autonomy was originally published by the International Society of Automotive Engineers in 2014 in their report titled Taxonomy and Definitions for Terms Related to On-Road Motor Vehicle Automated Driving Systems. There are 6 levels of autonomy: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You drive it. In level 0 autonomy, all major systems are controlled by the driver. Acceleration, braking, steering, everything. Even if your car has automated emergency braking, warning tones, or safety intervention systems, it is still considered level 0. Hands on the wheel. Certain systems such as cruise control, automatic braking, and park assist may be controlled by the car one at a time. The computer is never in control of both acceleration and braking at the same time. Hands off the wheel, eyes on the road. Level 2 vehicles have certain modes in which the car can take over both the pedals and the wheel, but only under certain circumstances. The driver must maintain ultimate control over the vehicle. Hands off the wheel, eyes off the road. Sometimes. In a level 3 vehicle, the car has certain modes that will fully take over driving responsibilities under certain conditions, but a driver is expected to retake control when the system asks for it. The car can decide when to change lanes and how to respond to dynamic incidents on the road, but uses the human driver as a fallback system. These are dangerous waters in terms of liability, and automakers are trying to more or less skip over it and move straight to level 4. Hands off, eyes off, mind off. Sometimes. A level 4 vehicle can be driven by a human, but it doesn't ever need to be. It can drive itself full time under the right circumstances, and if it ever encounters something it can't handle, it can ask for human assistance, but will park itself and put its passengers in no danger if a human isn't forthcoming. At this point, you're looking at a truly self-driving car. This is the level Waymo's cars have been operating at for a number of years now. Steering wheel is optional. The front seats might face backwards to make this a social space because the car neither wants nor needs your help. Full-time automation of all driving tasks on any road, under any circumstances, whether there's a human in the car or not. Even though we're still a few years away from the full regulatory and public adoption of autonomous vehicles, big-name tech companies are already developing them and aren't very far from delivering. Let's take a look at some of the biggest players in the autonomous vehicle game. Every Tesla produced in the factory has the hardware needed for full self-driving capability at a level substantially greater than that of a human driver. Teslas use 8 surround cameras to provide 360 degrees of visibility around the car at up to 250 meters of range. 12 ultrasonic sensors complement this vision, allowing for detection of both hard and soft objects. A forward-facing radar with enhanced processing provides additional data about the world on a redundant wavelength that is able to see through heavy rain, fog, dust, and even the car ahead. Waymo, formerly the Google self-driving car project, stands for a new way forward in mobility. Unlike Tesla, cars from Waymo are not mass-produced and are not available to the average person. They are only aiming to make 100 self-driving minivans, and you can only get your hands on one if your application for the Early Rider program is accepted. The amount of people that can get their hands on one is lowered even more considering the fact that they're only available for residents in parts of the Phoenix metropolitan area. Google is also more secretive than Tesla, with hardly any information about how their cars work available to the public. According to their website, they use LiDAR, cameras, radar sensors, and Waymo's very own self-driving sensors. If you prefer a more mainstream brand, some of the most profitable car companies in the world are also making self-driving cars, including Honda, Ford, BMW, GM, Toyota, Nissan, and Volkswagen. All of these companies are working on self-driving cars and want to have them on the road by the early 2020s. But why are all these companies so concerned with autonomous vehicles? Well, there are quite a few reasons. One reason is safety. According to the Association for Safe International Road Travel, nearly 1.3 million people die in road crashes each year. A lot of the things that cause these accidents, distracted driving, drunk driving, reckless driving, rain, street racing, and many more could be completely eliminated by autonomous vehicles. Cars can't be distracted or drunk, won't have any trouble driving in the rain, and they certainly won't be racing. Equity is another major consideration. Self-driving technology could help mobilize individuals who are unable to drive themselves, like the elderly and disabled. But the widespread adoption of autonomous vehicles could displace millions of Americans employed as drivers, negatively impact public transportation funding, and perpetuate the current transportation system's injustices. But before any of this actually happens, there are regulatory and legislative obstacles to overcome. On September 6, 2017, the Safely Ensuring Lives Future Deployment and Research in Vehicle Evolution, or Self-Drive Act, cleared the House unanimously. It will move to the Senate, and if it clears there, it could become the first national law for self-driving cars in the United States. The act claims to establish a federal framework for the regulation of self-driving cars and allows more autonomous vehicles on the road. Right now, automakers and companies that want to test self-driving technology have to apply for exemptions to the NHTSA vehicle safety standards. The agency only grants 2,500 exemptions per year, but the Self-Drive Act would increase this cap to 25,000 per year initially and 100,000 annually in 3 years. In order to be granted exemption, the company has to prove that the car in question is at least as safe as a human driver. They also have to report any crash involving exempted vehicles and store them in a public database. It's not perfect, but it's a step in the right direction. If you want to learn more about the bill, I'll leave some links down in the description. Thanks for watching. All of my sources will be in the description. Be sure to like the video if you liked it, and to subscribe to be the first to see all of my uploads as soon as they come out. Sayonara!